Hello. So another one of I did a video on the 1824 election, and another one of my favorite elections to look at is the 1876 election. So before we get into what actually happened in the election and why it's so interesting, a bit of backstory. So Grant had been president for 8 years. He wasn't the most popular. The economy wasn't doing that well. And people didn't like him. I don't know. I don't really know why, but probably because of the economy. And the Democrats thought they stood a pretty good chance because Grant was a Republican. Yeah, that's really all the backstory needed, I guess. And Grant decided not to run again, keeping the tradition. And Grant was the first person to complete 2 successful terms since Andrew Jackson, which is interesting, but okay. So anyway, the election. The Republicans nominated, Rutherford Hayes, who, he was a Civil War veteran. He was actually wounded in combat, when fighting in the Civil War. Hold up. He was wounded in combat fighting in the Civil War, and he was a Ohio governor and a Ohio representative. I obviously haven't practiced this, but okay. He was from Ohio. The Republicans nominated him. I don't really care about his vice president. And the Democrats nominated Samuel J. Tilden, who I guess he was a New York person. I don't know. So the Democrats thought they'd win. It's 1877 and the Democrats would go, but they were all amazed when Rutherford Hayes wins by just 1 vote. So yeah, that's what happens. If you were to add all of these up, you would see that it's 185 Hayes, 184 Tilden, and Tilden, so it's a 1 vote off from so it's actually 1 vote away, so it's not tied, and Hayes technically has the majority, but it was very disputed in some states, such as Colorado, South Carolina. But honestly, if one state's results were wrong, the entire election is screwed over. In fact, one faithless elector could have determined. There was no faithless electors, but one faithless elector could have determined who the president was. But they didn't, luckily, because then that would be weird. So it was obviously very disputed, because it was really hard. And to further complicate things, Tilden actually won the popular vote. And this would be the second time this happened, winning the popular vote but not becoming the president. The first time was obviously 1824. This is the first time where someone won a majority of the popular vote and still didn't become president. So the results were still very disputed. And the South still didn't want to accept Hayes. So what they did was make a compromise. So the South would accept Hayes as the president if the North moved all of the troops out of the South, enforcing rights of African Americans. So, and also getting rid of local officials running Southern governments, basically ending the Reconstruction era and letting the South do whatever it wants. Jim Crow laws would pass after this, making blacks basically have no rights that the Constitution promised they would have. And if these results weren't as disputed, the country might have been a more racially integrated place. I don't know. Okay.